The narrative surrounding rookie quarterback success in the National Football League has always been a cycle of hope, hype, and often devastating reality. And nowhere is this more painfully evident right now than in Minnesota. Ads. Where the highly anticipated debut of JJ McCarthy has rapidly devolved into a genuine football catastrophe. This is not hyperbole. This is what the film shows, week after agonizing week, as the Vikings organization watches their multi-year investment look utterly overwhelmed by the pace, complexity, and sheer athleticism of professional defenses. It is a full-blown crisis, and the collective anxiety being felt by the fan base is entirely justified, because the issues are not surface level. They are structural, fundamental flaws that threaten to derail his career before it even truly begins. The sheer talent around him, a receiving core that ranks among the league's elite, and an offensive system designed by one of football's most respected minds, only serves to highlight the severity of his personal failings, suggesting that the problem lies squarely within the quarterback's execution and processing speed. See, to simplify a mountain of poor tape, we can distill McCarthy's current struggles into a trilogy of critical mistakes. A crippling lack of anticipation, severely erratic mechanical discipline, and a tendency to lock onto receivers, giving away the play before the ball even leaves his hand. The most glaring and perhaps the most difficult issue to fix at the professional level is McCarthy's near-total absence of anticipation, a prerequisite for any truly successful NFL quarterback. The difference between college and the NFL often boils down to a tick of the clock, and for McCarthy, that tick is the length of time he waits to see a receiver definitively open before he begins his throwing motion. Against complex zone coverage schemes, which thrive on disguising pressure and coverage rotations, this delay is fatal. When a defense shows one look pre-snap, say, a fierce cover zero blitz, and then drops into a 3-deep cover 3-zone post-snap, the quarterback must not only process the change, but must also throw the receiver open. Launching the ball to a precise spot where the receiver will be when he exits his break, not where he is when the quarterback confirms he is uncovered. McCarthy struggles profoundly with this nuance. We see repeated examples where his receivers, particularly the elite talents on the perimeter, achieve temporary separation, creating the perfect window for a completion, only for McCarthy to hesitate, his feet hitching in the pocket as he cycles through the options, waiting for an absolute certainty that never comes. By the time he confirms the receiver is open, the deep zone defender has recovered, the window has closed, and the only possible pass is a forced back shoulder throw that sails out of bounds. Or worse, a late throw that invites a crashing hit or an interception. This reactive style of play paralyzes the entire offense, forcing plays that are designed to hit on a specific drop depth and timing to extend an extra second or two, which is an eternity in the pocket and an absolute gift to an NFL defensive line. This hesitancy and poor timing have a compounding, devastating effect on the second major flaw in his game, his mechanical breakdown. Because McCarthy is late on the read and slow to pull the trigger, he constantly feels the need to rush the delivery when he finally commits, trying to shave off that fraction of a second he lost during his analysis. This frantic, hurried feeling leads to a complete loss of base stability and rhythm, which is the bedrock of consistent accuracy. His coaches have pointed out the problem, citing a tendency for his base to get too wide at the top of his drop, a flaw that locks his front side and impedes the natural, continuous rotation of his body through the throw. This overstriding is particularly evident on throws to his left, where he appears to open up his body and rush his footwork, resulting in the ball sailing high and wide over his receivers' heads. Instead of a smooth, repeatable, and comfortable delivery, the anxiety of being late forces an elongated, choppy motion. This means the ball is released from a lower, less consistent point in the throwing sequence, and the lack of mobility in his locked-out front hip prevents the back end of the rotation from generating the precise power and placement required. This isn't just poor technique, it is a direct consequence of a failure to anticipate. If he could throw with timing, his feet and body would remain balanced, allowing for a clean, compact motion. But because he waits to see the receiver break free, he has to panic, and the panic is what breaks the mechanics, creating a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of inaccuracy. And moreover, this mechanical inconsistency bleeds into his pocket management, another critical area of concern. Instead of making small, subtle, and intentional movements to step up and away from pressure, McCarthy's movements often turn into exaggerated scrambles or unnecessary shuffles that destroy his platform, further complicating a throw that was already late to begin with. Finally, the third key flaw staring down receivers is inextricably linked to the first two, creating the perfect defensive roadmap to his passes. When a quarterback is waiting for a receiver to clear coverage, he is inherently going to focus on that player. In the NFL, this singular focus is a fatal error, especially when facing intelligent, opportunistic linebackers and safeties. Linebackers in spot drop zone coverage are taught to get to their landmark and then read the quarterback's eyes, and McCarthy is giving them exactly what they want. Ugh! In film, we have seen plays where a defender like a star middle linebacker is sitting in a zone, watching McCarthy's eyes drill into a seam route or a crossing pattern. The second McCarthy's head and eyes are fixed on the target, the defender knows precisely where the ball is going and can trigger a phenomenal break on the throw, resulting in easy interceptions. This failure to manipulate the secondary with his vision, a trait often called eye candy, means every pass is a predictable event for the defense. While there are a handful of high-ceiling plays that demonstrate McCarthy's elite arm talent when his mechanics are clean and he holds the ball just long enough for a deep shot, these are currently isolated moments of competency, not a foundation for future success. The overwhelming reality is a statistical disaster, highlighted by a high drop percentage from his receivers, a number that is itself often inflated by poor timing and ball placement forced by his late decisions. The bust label is being casually tossed around in the media, and based purely on the film and the systematic nature of these three compounding errors, the anticipation failure, the mechanical collapse, and the vision lock, it is a conversation that cannot be dismissed. Aid. While he has a legendary coach and a stacked roster, those assets cannot teach an elite level of processing speed. They can only try to coach the physical corrections. If McCarthy cannot overcome the mental hurdle of throwing with anticipatory confidence, the Vikings will soon face a far greater, much more expensive, and infinitely more painful reckoning.